What up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Sport Exposure Podcast. As you know, we're here to expose sport journeys, sport experiences to hopefully inspire the next generation of student athletes and really create a safe space for student athletes past, present, and future to share their stories and their journeys. Today, we have the pleasure of having Zuri Godfrey here, Google marketer, and we'll talk about how he got there.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about yourself.
A little bit about me. So I'm born and raised in Hampton, Virginia. That's huge because I feel like this is definitely a sports area. I went to the school that Allen Iverson went to, Bethel High School. And yeah, it's definitely been a journey to say the least. But coming from here, being from here, has really shaped me and grown me and molded me into the person that I am today. So yeah, from going from Bethel High School to then making the unpopular decision to go to the real HU.
The other one.
The real one, Howard University. So spent my time there, played football, studied business management, had a range of experiences. And yeah, so that took me to DC, the Mecca, enjoying my time there. And then I'll say beyond all of that stuff, really just who I am is really, a believer first and foremost, and then also a marketer. So you touched on me doing marketing at Google now, have done marketing at ESPN, at other brands as well. And then I would say just a creator, content creator, social creator on LinkedIn, Instagram, and other platforms.
For sure. So before we get into your story for real, we always ask here at Sport Exposure, we're all about celebrating triumphs and learning from our defeats.
I've seen that.
When that comes to mind and you think about your sport journey to where you are today, what do you think about?
What do I think about? I think about a defeat that in the plain eyes will look like a defeat, but on a spiritual sense, I feel like it was really a triumph. And so I feel like probably not a lot of people know this, and that's why I'm excited to share the story. So my 9th grade year at Bethel, I got cut from JV, not even varsity. This is the JV football team, right? So at that point in time, what the scientists say, it was like fight or flight type of thing. And so I got cut, so I obviously couldn't play for the team, but it was like, do I want to hang it up? Do I want to choose another sport? Because I had been playing basketball. I had been getting into track. My dad had ran track at CNU. So it's like, do I want to pivot and focus on another sport? But football was my passion. It had my heart. And so I fought. And although I did have to go play recreation that 9th grade year, just because I was cut, it ended up turning to a pivotal moment in my life where I knew that I had to overcome things in life. And so put in the work, overcame that my sophomore year. Played JV, but also played a couple games in varsity as well. So that kind of gave me the track record to really know that I could perform on the field and at a high level. And so fast forward to, I would say, my senior year, or even before that, my junior year, because there was a coaching change at Bethel. Didn't know the coaches that was coming in, didn't really have rapport with them. So my dad had a good friend who was connected to Delton Cotton, which was the head coach at Norview. And he had, turned out Cam Chancellor and other NFL players from the Norfolk area. So I was like, all right, maybe I need to transfer there and see what's what. And this was before all the transfer portal stuff. So it was a big decision, like just leaving Hampton, going to Norfolk and attending Norview. And I enjoyed that experience there. Unfortunately, they moved my position around. So while coming up, I was always either a linebacker or a running back. When I got to Norview, just because of the talent that they had, and I think rightfully so, they moved me to where there's a gap that needs to be filled. And that gap ended up being like outside linebacker, but more so hand down in the dirt, defensive end type of thing. And didn't really play too much on the offensive side of it. And so that piece on the offensive side, that's really where I wanted to shine. I wanted to play running back, fullback, flanker, H-back, tailback, anything in the backfield on the offensive side. So I'm like, we bring it back home. I'm going back to Bethel. So I went back to Bethel my senior year. I started, but split time at halfback. And as a result of that, I had some offers, which we can get into. So I had the offer from Howard, the offer from Morgan State, CNU, Elizabeth City State. They gave me a partial, but those offers that I named for Howard and from Morgan State were actually full rides.
They weren't
no money. They were preferred walk-ons actually.
Okay.
And that, I would say, is a defeat in a sense, but it's a triumph. Because fast forward, and this kind of gets into me parlaying, going from the Gridiron to Google where I am now. If I had been on full scholarship at Howard when I went there for my freshman and sophomore year, I wouldn't have been able to do the things that I did in the School of Business. I wouldn't have been able to go to Google my sophomore year for a program out at their headquarters. And that program was during camp. So you're an athlete, so you know how big
can't
camp
go
is.
nowhere.
So I'm missing camp, right? Because at the time I'm a preferred walk-on. So I kind of have that slight flexibility to do so. If I'm a full athletic scholarship player, already no question. I'm gonna have to be there.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that in itself, that's what I say. It looked like a defeat at the time, but fast forward, it was a triumph because that program that I did, or I missed part of camp because I was able to, that got me the internship at Google. That internship got me the full-time job at Google where I am now. And so I would say that's really, really a pivotal point.
I really like how you shine the light on looking at a different perspective with it, because a lot of kids get preferred walk-on opportunities.
Yep.
And some kids would deter that.
Facts.
Like from everything. Like, I want a full scholarship, or I want to go D1. Or like, something is always better than nothing. Whether
Exactly.
you get the opportunity to get a full scholarship or not, but to still be preferred, there's a beauty in that.
There is.
And I feel that from what you've told me so far, you were able to find the beauty of it to make it work for you.
100%. And now let's be clear. I'm a dog, so I ended up earning that full athletic scholarship my junior year. So it was perfect in the sense that the first 2 years I focused on football, obviously, because I was on the team. I didn't have to try out, like you said, it's preferred walk-on. So there's that. But during that time, got in my bag in the business my first 2 years. And then that set me up for life after football. And then senior year, when I had the full athletic scholarship, I was able to focus on ball, and not really have to worry too much about life after college, life after ball.
That's super dope, because you kind of had the back, like you switched it.
Yeah.
Most kids don't really take it serious till they're back in 2 years, and sometimes it's too late.
Yep.
Any other student athlete, your coach not letting you go nowhere.
Right.
let's be real. I don't care where the internship is. I don't care how much they're paying you. Like, you have some coaches that do understand, but even trying to get, I could think, an internship out like during the summertime. I don't play a summer sport.
Yeah.
My coach may or may not let me go. But those are all things that you have to think about as a student athlete, because you have to find ways to maneuver your situation. Like, yes, 100%. I'm here to play basketball, but what else can I get from this?
Right.
So let's talk about your journey from going from preferred walk-on for 2 years to earning a scholarship, because that's also a journey in itself.
Definitely a journey in itself, man. It was. And I think what added to that is I had 4 different head coaches in my 4 years.
I remember that. I think I was working for the MEAC at that time.
So when I came in, we had a great staff, and I liked all of the staffs actually. But the staff that brought me in, obviously, they're gonna be near and dear to my heart because they brought me in, right? And they actually, Mike London, his son Brennan Marion, and a couple other coaches also actually had roots in Hampton, Virginia. So it felt like home there.
Right.
And so when I came in as a preferred walk-on, I didn't really feel that way from a feelings perspective, but in all actuality, I wasn't getting the burn, I wasn't getting the first reps of practice, so on and so forth. And so I wouldn't say I was mad, because I think that was a time where I really needed to find myself my freshman year, and then understand and adapt to being a college student, right?
Especially in the Mecca.
Exactly. Exactly. And them classes rigorous now in the School of Business. So I would say that's, the synopsis of my freshman year. My sophomore year, started to find my way, started doing well in practice, and starting to get some burn on special teams and on the field. And so I would say after that sophomore year is when Coach London and them left. They ended up going to William & Mary, where they're coaching now. And so he had a new coach came in, Ron Prince, who gets a lot of slack, but I actually had a great rapport with the guy. He was... Was
this the year that Kyle was there?
Kyle Anthony?
No. Cam Newton, little brother.
Oh, Kalen.
I'm sorry.
Kalen Newton. Yeah, so
that was that 1 year, wasn't it?
So he was there my freshman year, and then my sophomore year, he played too. But then Coach Prince came in, and I think Kalen felt him out.
Yeah.
Felt the vibes was off, and then he ended up transferring. Oh no. He played a season with Coach Prince.
Okay.
Which was Coach Prince's only season. But he did actually, if my memory serves me correct, he actually did play. But right after the season ended, I think almost 30 people transferred.
That's what I remember.
That's what you remember. So
that's what I remember.
And that was crazy. So yeah, going from that was definitely tough because half the people, if not more, that I came in with ended up transferring, leaving or graduating. So that in itself was tough. But I will say, Ron Prince, he was a business-minded person. How he communicated, how he coached was really from a business perspective. So I realized that a lot of people couldn't fall in line with that, and that's really what happened. And so for better or for worse, that's where it is.
Do you think that being a preferred walk-on helped you make your major decision? Because that's a major that coaches may or may not stir you away from as an athlete.
Business, yeah. Everybody want that sports management.
And at a Black Ivy League, it's not easy.
Yeah. Nah, I think...
Because I started as a 5-year MBA major at Hampton.
Oh, wow.
Then
admiration.
Slid on over with sport management.
Hey, I'm not mad at you. It was tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, it credit to my mom, really, because before I stepped foot on campus, I was so excited about getting a preferred walk-on and signing and making it official. And I would begin to say, I'm going to Howard to play football. And my mom quickly shut that down. She said, you're going to get an education. And so I think, me reframing my mindset to that, it actually pushed me to pursue business. And in all actuality, it was a no-brainer. My senior year, I had did this Young Entrepreneurs Academy that's local to the 757 or Hampton Roads. And that really increased my business acumen and my desire to want to be an entrepreneur. So I knew that business management was the major that I wanted to choose, which is obviously in the School of Business, because I wanted to learn two things: how to manage a business and how to manage people. And I feel like that major gave me the best opportunity to do so. And so I kind of went into Howard with that business mindset. So it wasn't, sports management was actually never even on my radar to consider as a major. So, yeah.
That's a plus, though. Yeah. I'm sure that being a preferred walk-on during those first 2 years helped you get acclimated to that.
100%. And then at the end of the day, when you're on campus, people don't know that you're a preferred walk-on. So, you know what I mean? Exactly. It's like, I'm a jock at the end of the day. So fighting that stereotype is a whole nother conversation. But yeah, getting my foot in, like you said, my first 2 years was definitely helpful and a blessing in disguise.
So what did the work ethic look like on top of just the academics grind and you're finding yourself and you still have to battle when you get back from your internship because you're still a preferred walk-on. You still have practice. You still have workouts.
Right.
Like,
you could get cut.
Like, at any moment, coaches say you're not coming back today.
And they definitely cut people. So let's not
That's
be
a
mistaken.
lot on the mental.
Yeah, it's a lot. But I would say really my faith is really what really kept me. And even sharing more about that, my sophomore year actually through football is how I actually became a genuine Christian. So I would say like my faith, especially my sophomore year, grew stronger, became official. And that was the grounding and force and function for everything in my life at that point in time and obviously to today. But yeah, it was a grind. I mean, I can't even remember now because we had so many coaching changes and they wanted to do things different. Some coaches we worked out in the morning. Some we worked out after classes.
So like the minute you get acclimated to one coach, I got another one coming in. Now I get acclimated to that one. I got another one coming in.
Exactly.
I got acclimated to 3 different coaches. Like, all right, I don't know what's about to happen.
Right. And on top of that is the changes come when I'm really starting to find my groove, like where I'm really starting to practice well.
That's tough.
Yeah. So it was tough.
That's tough. And I always applaud student athletes that prioritize their faith, because that helps a whole lot.
100%.
Like that's it. I mean, it's hard to maintain, especially in college because you're finding yourself, right?
Exactly.
You got so many different distractions. It's a lot going on.
Fact.
But that one priority can help everything else go so smooth.
Yeah. No, that's real. We could touch on that.
Yeah.
And it's funny because today I have a mantra of faith, family, and fitness. When I was at Howard, it was faith, family, football. So just those three priorities, aligning my time and everything that I do with those for the most part is really, really just what helped me push through and persevere amidst all the changes that happen, which one we ain't even talk about yet is COVID. So I told you, I'm about to pop. I'm playing. I'm practicing well. I'm about to pop. COVID hit. So that's another story.
Yeah, let's get into that.
Yeah.
What was that? Was that your junior year?
That was my junior year.
Going into your junior year.
Nah, so I remember it was my junior year first semester because it was in March. So it was right before we went off for the, I think,
Did y'all
before
get
spring break?
Did y'all have spring ball before or after? Because some people have it before spring break. Some people have it after.
Do we have it? I think we were practicing when they told us we were getting sent home.
Okay.
I remember that. Yep. I remember that.
And this is when you earned your scholarship. You had your scholarship.
Yeah. So, no, I think actually it was right after I had proven myself in those workouts and leading up to that with the new coach who I love and admire, Coach Larry Scott, who's the coach still today, who got us to the Celebration Bowl this year. Shout
out to y'all.
Shout out to Coach Scott. That's the guy. But yeah, I would say that COVID year was tough because we eventually ended up coming back on campus and having somewhat of a season for my senior year. But yeah, it was tough. It was tough because learning a new playbook.
I admire you COVID babies.
Yeah.
Especially as a student athlete.
Yeah, it was.
I cannot imagine. Because I remember, because I was still working for the MEAC at that time.
Okay.
And I just remember the news breaking because it was a tournament. It was a MEAC tournament. It was maybe like Wednesday or Thursday. Every other conference has shut I'm like, oh my goodness, this is real.
This is real.
And it's like,
this is not a fire drill. It's the real thing.
This is real. I'm just like, my heart just went out to everybody because I know how hard these kids worked. And now it's the height of their season. It's March Madness and everything's getting shut down.
Yeah.
And some kids weren't able to get through that. Mm-hmm. Granted, there were a lot of positive actions that came from it if you used it wisely. But talk about your mental aspect and your approach through that. Because that's tough.
Yeah.
Grinding your way from a walk-on to getting a full scholarship. You finally got an opportunity. Yeah. And the world shuts down.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, hindsight is 20/20. So it was a defeat, but again, it was a triumph.
Right.
The defeat aspect of it. Imagine trying to learn a playbook because again, new coaching staff, right? So this is before we even had a season with Coach Scott. Imagine learning the playbook on Zoom. And meeting and practicing on Zoom. Not practicing, but it's funny, we did do some Zoom workouts. Like turn your camera on, workout.
How hard was that to maintain?
I think what you said was the most important part, the mental aspect. Like the physical aspect, it was challenging because you don't have a training table, you don't have the facilities and whatnot. But the biggest was the mental, like, will I go back? Will I finish my career? Will I get a chance to prove myself on the field? Then you got school going online, learning that was in itself. Then you got things that's going on at home because you're back at home now. You're not away in college where you can kind of separate the two. You got ball, you got school, and you got life.
Right.
Within your house because you can't leave for real. You know what I mean? So that was tough. And again, goes back to the faith. And I think the triumph from it was, I think that was a time where I started to dip into the sports side of things from a corporate perspective. So from that, during that COVID time when we were at home, I had some more flexibility and I was able to do an externship with the NFL where actually that externship, that opportunity was amazing because it ended up affording me the opportunity to work the draft, which that year was in Cleveland, Ohio. And my good friend, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, who I played with at Bethel and went to school with it since middle school, guess where he got drafted?
Yeah.
To the Browns. And it's so crazy because through that experience, I got to hear, I was like on the headset, just working the draft. I got to hear his name called before it was on TV. I got to hear actually Daz's as well. Daz Newsome from Hampton High School. And so that experience, and then the next day after the draft ended, Woo flying to Ohio, us linking up, chopping it up was worthwhile. And so that experience came from COVID.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for COVID, I wouldn't have been able to have that experience. I also did an externship with Meta, or at the time Facebook, and social media market intelligence. So again, some more tech experience. So yeah, COVID was COVID and all. Got a chance to go back to campus to ball. It was literally only the student athletes there. I think maybe the football team and the other sports that play in the fall was there. Got back to campus. And I feel like that actually was a time where I was able to really lock in, because you don't have the general people.
Yeah. It's just athletes. I remember because as a basketball player, for Christmas break, it's just us on campus.
Facts.
Like, and that I can compare the two, because it's like, it's my campus.
Right, bro. For real.
No, that's what I'm saying. We're the only ones here, and you are able to lock in. Yeah. Because you don't have any of the it's no parties. The calf is yours. If they made your name open, and I'm sure y'all was getting special privileges at that time.
For sure. I mean, and at that point, it wasn't even special because there was nobody to compare it to. So, like you said, but got back to campus, locked in, and then COVID was still going on. So a lot of our games ended up getting canceled. So I think maybe we only played like two or three games. And it's actually all now a blur. But yeah, we only was able to play like 2 or 3 games that season because of the COVID protocols that were in place and whatnot. And so, yeah, it was the season itself. It wasn't necessarily a win, a memorable experience to say the least. But being there with the guys, with the teammates, locking in, like you said, it was only us on the campus. So that was, a time well spent.
Coming up against so much adversity during your college years, like I tell people all the time, being a collegiate athlete at any level is not easy.
Facts.
It's a job. And trying to manage, in your case, you are preparing for your life after sport. Yeah. Because I'm sure at that point you knew that you didn't want to go pro.
Right. Well, not that I didn't want to go pro. Right. I won't go pro. We can keep it real.
That's dope that you were able to acknowledge that. Yeah. Some kids are like, I'm still going. Like, baby, you're probably not. Right. But
and that's okay.
It is. Right. It's okay. But to know that and to prepare yourself for life after sports simultaneously is also a task at the level that you were doing it. Thanks. Because the opportunities that you've been allotted, whether it's sports or just the rooms that you were been able to put yourself, for me looking from afar, has always been admirable.
Thank you.
And
appreciate that.
That's not easy either.
No, it's not.
Like getting in those rooms is hard enough. Facts. And continue to climb the ladder of corporate anything, and let alone corporate sports. Yep. It's also a journey. Yeah. So what really kept you? I know you talk about your faith, but what would you say your lowest moment was? Because you went through so much, from being a walk-on to COVID to come bouncing back to a lot.
I'll give you a few, and I kind of already touched on it, but I'll say in my upbringing, it was when I got cut from JV, Bethel football. Then going into college, it was being a preferred walk-on versus a full athletics player. And then I would say, kind of towards the end of my collegiate career was just facing that reality that I'm not going pro. You grow up being around the 757 where you got people coming out, Tyrod Taylor, one of my closest friends, Jeremiah Wusu Koromora, going, and I play with him, play with other players such as, my bestest friend today, Janaz, who ended up going to Colorado, transferring to Townsend, and seeing everybody around me still balling when I was making that transition from, football, hanging up the cleats, to going to corporate. And I would say that's kind of part one of that. And part two of that is actually when I graduated. Right after that, I interned with ESPN in sports marketing, and my property was actually college football. And so I got a chance to bring in different creators and creatives to create assets for our college game, for at the time, the college game day. for different site announcements for College Game Day. And then I also was a part of leading the strategy for how we would show up on social for the games that were NFL games on ESPN's network. And then all of that to say, working on that college football property and seeing and going to different games and whatnot, it made me think about, like, what if I put all my eggs in this basket of ball? Like, would I have been pro? Would I be playing in the league with, one of my closest friends right now? So I would say that was a low moment from, the inside. But from the outside, it's like, bro, you play college football. You doing marketing for college football at ESPN, one of the biggest sports brands. How could it get better? But it was like, for me, it was like, bro, that should be me. That could have been me. So that wasn't a healthy mental space for me to be in. And that's actually ultimately why part of the reason why I decided to go the tech route instead of being in sport.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's super dope because things don't work out the way we want them to, and they end up working out better than we imagined to, and we can't always see it in the moment. Mm-hmm. And I was one of those kids that knew I didn't want to go pro. Mm. And after sport, it was just like, okay, now what? Yeah. I actually never wanted to work in sports. No? Surprisingly.
Why not?
Because I felt that it had taken up so much of my life. And I didn't want to be known as the basketball girl forever. Yeah. Like, that was that chapter that I wanted to close it. But it was just so many opportunities that opened up because I was that basketball girl. And I was just like, I can't keep running for clearly it's a call. And like, I'm gonna go for it because I don't have no experience, nothing else. Right. And being in those moments, just like, I don't play professionally in sports, but still being able to be around professional sports still kind of gives you that same feeling on the other side. Just like, dang, I actually like this side better because I'm not putting my body on the line. Like, I don't have to work. I don't got to do this and that. And you get to empower other athletes along the way. Like, yo, like, I've been in your shoes before. Right. It's a whole different perspective. Like, when I talk about corporate sports, and versus like collegiate sports or just like the other, because people don't understand it's two totally different sides of sports, like playing, coaching, and then there's sports business. Yeah. And to have both sides puts you 5 steps up on this business side, because a lot of them, as you know, a lot of people have never played a sport in their life.
And that's a hot topic right now with all these analysts speaking on things that they haven't experienced. So that's real.
So talk about how your sport journey has played a huge part in that corporate ladder, because we learn a lot as far as overcoming adversity and working with different people and being faced against all types of stuff that we still have no choice but to push through. And that fast forward to working corporate, especially at this level that you're working at, I'm sure you see it all the time.
I definitely see it all the time. And it goes back to a conversation I'll never forget. So when I'm at home during COVID, interning virtually with Google, they had all the marketing interns were able to talk to our CMO, our chief marketing officer, Lorraine Tuhill. And I asked her a question, nervous as heck. I asked her a question. I think the question was, like, what characteristics do the most successful people in your eyes, people that you've hired or worked with in marketing at Google, what are some of the commonalities that you see with those type of people? And what she said is they're athletes. And she wasn't saying that they played college ball somewhere, but she's saying that they have that athlete mindset. Mm-hmm. So to your question, this really just goes back to that athlete mindset that we both share. It's time management, it's persevering, it's being diligent, it's knowing your stuff, it's practicing, preparing, all of those intangible skills that not a lot of people have that didn't grow up playing sports, right? That they don't have, that we have, that we're able to use and leverage to our advantage when we're in these corporate spaces. And so I would say, as a whole, that's really what it is. Having that athlete mindset, working harder than the next person, and not so much at this point comparing or being in competition with someone, but really knowing knowing my stuff, for me practicing, preparing for the meetings, for the different opportunities that come my way, and then showing up like it's game day. And it's so funny because to this day, when I'm about to have a presentation or I'm about to do a speaking engagement or I'm doing work out in and outside of Google, And it's that moment. I'm thinking to myself, talking to myself, it's game day. Let's show up type time. So that's really what it comes from. Channeling in that inner game day.
There's that athlete mindset that never goes anywhere.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
It never goes anywhere. And I want you to talk to current student athletes on the importance of taking advantage of opportunities while you are still playing.
Yeah. At the collegiate level?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that is huge. Because typically a lot of student athletes that graduate, I ain't had none on my resume, but a couple championships, some accolades, it didn't even mean that.
Yeah. No, that's real. So I think with that, and this is something I actually found out pretty early, when you're going to these job fairs or interviewing, really stand on that student athlete business and leverage that, speak to your experience in that, and speak to what that has taught you. Because you got to think about it. These companies, they're recruiting thousands of people. But what those thousands of people don't have from an experience perspective that's super transferable to pretty much any role is being a Division I, Division II, Division III student athlete. So my advice to them would be to lean into being a student athlete when they're making those elevator pitches to the recruiters at the job fair. And then second to that is also putting in the work in the classroom, making sure the grades are good. You're actually going to be cut a little bit of slack. And I say just a little bit of slack because you're a student athlete. So just a little bit, not too much. I'm still, you know what I'm saying? I'm encouraging 3.0 or better for sure at minimum, but you will be cut a little bit of slack. But the point in that, and that second point is really lock in on the grades. Make sure your GPA is high. Make sure your test scores are well. And then the third thing that I would say, and this is really general advice in my opinion, what I've learned in my life is that it all boils down to relationships. Who you know, and also importantly, who knows you. So building those relationships and making sure that you are nurturing and cultivating genuine and authentic relationships with people that you have you have things in common with, but also people that you admire, people that are in the place and the space that you want to be in one day.
And I know you do a lot of public speaking engagements, and when it comes to schools, professional development workshops, whatever it is, what is the one or maybe two things that you really hone in on when it comes to trying to get to where you are? Because a lot of kids, they hear Google and they think it's so far out of mind.
Yeah.
Or so far out of sight, it's not doable. But when you see somebody like yourself, and at the age that you're doing it, you're doing it. And you serve as representation to let them know that I could be in his shoes
you can do it too.
Yeah.
Facts. So beyond the relationships, I would credit my success, to really going above and beyond and taking advantage of every opportunity presented. In taking advantage of every opportunity presented, obviously you want to make sure that it's alignment with you, with where you want to go, with your values, all that good stuff. But taking advantage of the opportunities at hand, and really, I would say that is separate from the third point. The third point is really making time, and especially as a student athlete, your time is borrowed, right? So making time. And I'm a firm believer in that people make time for who and what they want to make time for. So it's a mix of relationships, taking advantage and seizing the opportunity, and then making time and not making excuses. And a specific example of that, I'll never forget it, is coming off of practice. I can't believe it. I'm assuming it was after practice. I had 2 different sessions I could go to, or it might have been before. Maybe we didn't have practice, but it was 2 opportunities that I could either go to one or the other, or I could be late to one and go to both. And me taking advantage of every opportunity.
You went to both.
I went to both. And so one of them was I was pursuing consulting at the time. It was like a case prep session. And then the other was while I was at Howard, or both were at Howard. But the second was I was on the executive board of the American Marketing Association at Howard. And we had an e-board visit to Google, actually, one of their DC offices. And so went to the consulting one, left early, and went to the Google one. And there I actually met someone that had went to Howard, was working at Google, and was a student athlete at Howard as well. So that's what I said, relationships with people that you have commonalities with, right? So we really, and it's so funny. I never forget it. I'm walking in the session late. She's walking out, but I took a mental note. Make sure I connect with her. I don't know who she is, but I'm like, make sure I connect with her. That's kind of how my mind works, right? If you're in a room, make sure you connect with everybody in the room, at least high level, and then do your research after that to see if you want to further the connection. So I made a mental note. I'm walking in the room. I'm late. She's leaving. I connect with the guy that was still there from Google that was leading the visit. After that, like, who is that? Can you please get me in contact? Fast forward, ride into the office, back to the office, maybe a couple days or a week out, because her name is Sonia White. Shout out to her. She was willing enough to invite me to the office to have lunch with her. Or I don't even know if it was lunch. We just had a coffee chat or something like that. And I remember on my way there, I'm a sophomore, and this is another point, being prepared, like going into conversations and pretty much everything prepared, right? So even before this, like I watched a couple podcast episodes, I heard your story, but just being prepared. So I'm driving in an Uber or riding in an Uber to the coffee chat with Sonia. And I'm a sophomore at the time at Howard. So I'm like, as a sophomore, what can I do at Google? She worked at Google. And so I realized that it was the Bold Immersion program. And so I'm like, feeling the vibes, we kind of hit it off. And she was just mad open and receptive. And I normally wouldn't ask for things the first time I met someone, but going back to faith, that Holy Spirit was like, yo, ask her to put you on for this opportunity. Coming to find out, there was no formal referral process, but she happened to know the person at Google that was leading that program. So she sent the email. And again, so fast forward, I got into the program, right? That program got me the internship. The internship got me the full-time. Everything, yeah. Full-time opera. So it's full circle moments. Yeah.
So I want to pick your brain about some of the business side of things as far as preparation, because that's a side as student athletes we don't really get into. You touched on elevator pitches. Yeah. A lot of student athletes, one, don't have one, two, don't know what it is.
Right.
You talk about being prepared when you go on these meetings. You talk about connecting. Like you see somebody, like I'm going to reconnect, but some kids don't know how to do that.
Facts.
And nobody really teaches us how to do it. Of course, we're business majors. We know how to do it.
We know how to do it,
but all student athletes don't know how to connect those dots. Like I know what to do or how to do it, but as far as like really doing it, like you said, sometimes we get a little nervous when we got to speak up when it comes to business settings. But talk to, and back to elevator pitch. I should like at Georgia Southern, like my job was student athlete development. So my job for them for elevator pitches was to give them one as student athletes, because in business we learn one as business, right? But as a student athlete, you sometimes you don't have much to say. But as long as you make an impression on somebody, or I used to tell kids, just make them remember you.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like. Because, we're taught the proper way, 5-minute elevator, like whatever it is, you're in the elevator, make sure. But there's other ways. And as me, I felt like I was a baller personality. So I used to let it show when I met people. Like to this day, the reason I got to NFL is because shout out to Giselle Mitchell. She was a director of diversity, equity, inclusion at the NFL headquarters at the time.
Okay.
She was on one of our panels at the MEAC, and she had this Versace brooch on her neck. That's how I wrote. I'm like, how do you? I want a brooch like that.
Right, I want a brooch like that. Oh, bro.
But that's how we connected, though. It's just like it is what you make it.
Right.
And student athletes, I feel like we overcomplicate it because nobody ever tells us like, we feel like we got to put this voice on or stand like this or just be you.
Right, and especially if you're trying to connect with people who look like you for starters. So you could really, really be yourself like that. But obviously be on your P's and Q's, be professional, all that good stuff. I want to start the answer with what you said, that impression, that first impression, making an impression. You only have one time to make a first impression. So making that first impression, making sure, another thing you said, that they remember you. So one thing for me, when I have a question, I'm actually always pretty much going to stand, introduce myself, ask my question. Most of the time, no one else really goes to that extent to do that. So that's an easy way to make yourself stand out and be remembered. Beyond that, I would just say it's being diligent, like following up. Like, are you really out here standing on business, reaching out to people,
and they're not gonna always respond right back, y'all.
Exactly, they're not. You know how many LinkedIn messages I've sent? It's crazy.
Listen, and understand that they're humans. That was a big realization I had to come to. Like, they may not see it the first time, but still be diligent. Like, happy holidays. I was thinking about you.
Exactly.
Like, during COVID, I used that time to just reach out. I'm like, I don't got nothing else to say, but I met you at the NFL Super Bowls, but I can't lose you.
Right.
So I'm just checking in to see if your family's safe. And those are things that they remember, because when you always reaching out for opportunity or a job, everybody's doing that.
Right. And it goes back to what I said on that commonality point. I lead with what you all have in common, what mutual interests. Do your homework, do your research, right? Do your research on the person or the opportunity, and see what it is that relates to each of you all. And so for me, I'm very intentional when I'm trying to build my network, build my tribe of people that are not necessarily always from where I'm from, type of thing, but it's okay. We got HBCU grad. What's their sports teams? Just find things that you can bond on. And in all actuality, this is funny because how I kind of approach relationship building is actually it's like dating, but being like obviously professional, right? But think about it, like if you dating, if you courting, pursuing somebody, you're going to make a great first impression. You're going to follow up. You're going to follow through. Just kind of have that mindset, but obviously keep it P.
Right. Yeah. Keep it P. I like that. I like that. So fast forward to now where you are with Google. Tell me exactly what you do and how all of these experiences have led to that. I mean, you touched a little bit on it, but it's amazing to hear.
For sure. So in the chronological order, I'll try to make it quick. So got to Howard freshman year. Was interested in consulting. Sophomore year was interested in consulting as well. So from that, intern with a startup consulting firm my freshman year, sophomore year before COVID, went to Atlanta, intern with PwC and consulting. From that, after that, did the Bold Immersion program. That's where I found my fit for marketing, specifically at Google. So then junior year, did the internship in marketing with Google. And that was brand strategy. And Google's brand studio would just focus on the internal and external brand and reputation of the company. And from that, that's when I kind of was COVID, wanted to get my feet wet in sports, did the externship with the NFL, worked the draft through that, did some fan engagement stuff for them, then did the social media market intelligence externship at Meta, or known as Facebook at the time, and then graduated ESPN sports marketing, college football property, creator type of work there. And then after all that, it's like Google is where it's at. That check look right. The benefits look right. They relocating the brother to California. So there, and been here 2 years and 3 months now. And in my roles, for the first year, I did brand management and naming. So naming the different products, features, etc. within Google Ads and making sure our brand standards was upheld. From that, pivoted in, got tapped for a social media and YouTube strategy opportunity still within Google Ads. Then from that, got promoted out of the entry-level rotational program that I was in. And then now I'm a brand marketing manager, leading creator advocacy and ads marketing at Google. And the high level of that is partnering with creators, specifically YouTube creators and also even podcasters.
Okay.
And really highlighting the importance and the reliance that creators have on digital ads, whether it's to get their content discovered or to monetize. And so that's really my role in a nutshell. I'm enjoying it. Been doing it for maybe a couple quarters now, and a lot more wins to come in the new year. Yeah.
And how do you still manage that love for sports?
That's a great question. And it actually is to really give you your flowers. I want to use that question to give you your flowers. How I found my passion for sports is really, I would say, like internally, volunteer opportunities. So I actually got looped into a project where I was able to get some social content of Jalen Green, basketball player for Houston. And so through different volunteer opportunities internally, but externally going to different conferences. And so want to give my flowers to you because we reconnected at the Black Sports Business Symposium.
We did.
In Atlanta earlier this year in April. And that was when you told me about what the time was just an idea. Yeah. Not to see all of this is really crazy. So kudos to you. Give your flowers to you.
Thank you.
But I would say internally, there's volunteer opportunities, and then externally going to different conferences, staying on the pulse of sport culture. So
ultimately, what's the career goal for you?
Oh, the career goal for me. So
when it's all said and done,
I really got the plan. You know what I mean? I just needed a platform. Shout out to Young Thug, Free Thug. But yeah, so it's really by 40, I want to be a CMO of either Google or YouTube or Nike or Jordan. And then in those 10 years up to 50, I really want to be building out my entrepreneurial arm, which is always in the background. I'm always doing something on the side, passion projects, all that good stuff. And then by 50, I really just want to be a serial social entrepreneur, serving my community while also still enjoying the rest of my life.
Tough. And that goes into my next question. I was going to ask you, how big is that community aspect for you?
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. Because
I see you do a lot in the community from the HBCU standpoint, from giving back to your school, the awards. I see it all.
For sure. Yeah. Speaking of an award, recently I was named an Ag Color Future for this past year, and they have a mission of rise up, reach back. And so that community piece that you're touching on is really relates to that reach back aspect. And for me, what that really looks like now and today, top of mind, is a group mentorship program that I have and have running for 3 years now to date. It's called The Village, and it has a DNA of development, networking, and accountability. And so it's all about helping people, and specifically college students and recent grads, really develop personally and professionally through that mentorship that I provide them. And so that's really how I give back to my community. And it's not only HBCU people, right? It's not only Black people. We had a Latinx cohort. We're going to continue to have diverse cohorts. And that's definitely my community outlet.
I admire that.
Appreciate it.
And finally, for the sport exposure question.
Okay.
We're all about exposing our journeys, our experiences to inspire the next generation of student athletes, right? And there's so much that could have been told to us to stop us from going down different routes.
Yeah.
I'm thankful for the routes that I went through.
Facts.
But now my goal is to maybe help this transition or make the process is smoother for the next generation of student athletes. So what do you want to expose about sports? Because this, it can be a lot. It can be good, it can be bad. It's just something that you wish somebody would have told you.
I would say, look at sports however you want to look at it, from a player perspective or from a business perspective. Look at sports as an avenue, because even if you're looking at it from the player perspective, there's a shelf life for all players, right? So even if you're looking at
some
sports,
shorter than others.
Exactly. So even if it's a long career, what after that type of thing? So really look at sports as an avenue for you to be a player, to be a professional. And I really think those are the two spectrums that you can parlay sports with, being a player all your life or being a professional. And what's ironic is eventually you're not going to be a player anymore. So my focus, and obviously I'm biased based off of my experiences, to really think about what sports can do for you outside of you playing and being a player.
Right.
So yeah, hopefully that made sense.
That's huge.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for stopping by on your very busy schedule.
I appreciate it.
I know you be all over the place.
Yeah.
But where can we find you? Where can we look to see you in the next few months? I know you be a little bit everywhere.
Yeah, for sure. Well, first of all, you can find me, follow me, connect with me on social at Zuri Godfrey, ZURI GODFREY. And so that's across all socials. And then for 2024, heading into the new year, I'm just really looking forward to walking in my purpose, and that's serving, that's speaking and succeeding. So have a few speaking engagements coming up, whatnot, big things bubbling at work. So y'all follow me to figure it out and follow the journey.
Any student athletes out there, connect with my guy on LinkedIn, okay?
For sure.
He the plug.
For sure.
Well, I'm excited to see your journey. I'm excited for you, proud of you, all of the above. And I can't wait to see where this journey takes you.
I can't wait to see where this is going. I mean, y'all didn't hit, over 20K followers in a few months. That's crazy. Congrats to you.
We're working. Thank you.
Congrats to you.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you again for stopping by.
Of course.
And we'll catch you guys on the next one.